Chapter 32. He had a shifty look. The next morning, when Forrest Harper reported to the sentries at the Bloody Tower that his prisoner was not in her cell, the entire fortress was thrown into an uproar. The tower's drawbridges were instantly raised, and the constable ordered a full inspection. Soldiers and warders alike fanned out over ramparts, up and down stairways, and along battlement walls. It was then that the bloodied body of Simon Frick was discovered beside the river. Forrest and his father were both questioned and released. Warders Thomas and March were questioned as well. They reported that Simon Frick had come along looking for Ned that night. He had insisted on going up to look for him in the tower, even after both warders told him that the boy had left. He had a shifty look to him, Warder Marsh said to the sweep. A most untrusty figure, I'd say. The fact that Simon Frick's pockets were filled with gold led the king's investigators to surmise he was paid to help the prisoner escape, and had fallen out with the Scots, whereupon they killed him with his own dagger. With Frick dead, the crown was satisfied, and the case was closed. The tower seemed especially dark and dreary to Forrest as he went about his chores in the days and weeks that followed. For now, when he drew the battles in the shed wall, he had no one to share them with, and they seemed less exciting than his own life had been. When he prepared the ravens' meals, he prepared them alone. When he climbed the Bloody Tower steps to tend to his father's new prisoner, an old silent duke, he heard no more stories about a sun-filled glen and the buttercups that grew there. Foggy nights found Forrest thinking of Ned and their final goodbye beside the river's edge. And when the moon was full, it was Maddy's face he saw shining down upon him. But Forrest's loneliness began to lessen as time went on. With his newfound confidence, he began to see things differently. The bullies began to look more like ordinary boys, and slowly, without his even noticing at first, the tower walls began to take on a different look as well. They didn't seem quite as high to him as they once had. And then one day Forrest stopped wishing to live in the world beyond the ancient walls, and instead he made himself a good life within them. But he kept the memory of the adventure he'd had close to his heart, and he often relived it in his mind. And as he never left the fortress to have the adventures he'd once dreamed of, he clung to the hope that someone else had. He would close his eyes and call him up in his mind as he whispered to the raven at his side, "I see him, Tuck. He's running on a beach beside the ocean. His blue cap is pulled over his brow. The sun is blazing so bright. He's got the spyglass in his eye, and what's that he sees? Bless my soul, if it isn't a pirate ship coming around the cove." And in that way, one more adventure would be born, and one more journey taken, there in the middle of all the mortar and stone.